Yeah, what do we all got on the docket this week? I know I definitely want to talk some Hotshot.
Yeah.
I can't fucking wait to talk about that game. I've been playing it like crazy.
I wanted to play more of it than I did. I was trying to also cram for a test that I ended up rescheduling, but I did play enough to have an impression, that's for sure.
And we can kind of bounce off like just other racing stuff for all of us, our general preferences, and just kind of have a little conversation around that.
Definitely.
Let me grab I think I left my notebook in the other room.
Fuck yeah.
What do you got, DJ?
I got Invisible Ink and I got Haque. I mean, I've still been just like, I've been doing a lot more PUBG.
Oh, okay.
I'm hooked now because I'm starting to kind of get good with it. Like,
right.
My KD ratio is climbing up. It's just telling Randall that I'm doing a little more. Still doing PUBG. But,
nice.
But for the purposes of this recording, I think like Invisible Ink and Haque will
suffice.
I think so. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, for sure. What did you have anything else other than Hotshot, Randall?
So.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. This is episode number 74, and my name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with Randall Nolery.
Hey everybody.
And DJ Mandolini.
Yo.
And John is busy hitting a tax deadline. Yeah, it seems like he's always got a tax deadline going on at work. But
they're hammering him.
Yeah, so hopefully we're wishing him the best of luck this week. But he'll be back. He'll be back with us soon, obviously. But over the past few weeks, I know or a couple episodes recently, I know I've been gushing like crazy about New Super Lucky's Tale.
Oh yeah,
and we talk kind of back and forth on that, Randall. But I know you and Tina have Tina in particular has kind of gone back and fired that up.
Yeah.
What have you guys been thinking after I kind of set the bar pretty high there?
You did, and I'm like, man, like we played this game a little bit, and we hit a little bit of a difficulty curve on one of the earlier bosses.
The bosses are tough. Yeah.
They are tough. A lot of like almost bullet hell type of pattern stuff going on. Which is
more than like just hit the boss 3 times. Like there's like a few kind of sequences that you have to get through. They're really
intricate. Cool.
Yeah, they're really cool.
They are. They're well designed. But yeah, we were talking about it, and I was telling Tina like after our recording that night, like, oh yeah, like Kevin's just going wild. He's like comparing New Super Lucky's Tale to like top tier 3D platformers, and we had a good time. There was no reason why we stopped, a la a lot of games we play.
Right.
And it was on Game Pass. Like I owned it on Switch, but now it was like, oh, it's on Game Pass, so we can play it on, in beautiful, Xbox Vision, basically.
Yeah, it looks so good on Xbox. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I'm like, all right, we'll download it there too. And then Tina jumped back on it, and she's like, how did I get stuck before? I must have been really tired. And she just like started hammering through the game. And I'm like, oh yeah, this game is just awesome. Like,
yeah.
And one thing we didn't talk about, I feel like quite as much, is the music. The music is awesome. Like consistent.
Yeah, we didn't. I don't think I talked about it at all, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, man. Like I'm still getting those songs stuck in my head. Like,
yeah, the like opening song of the first level, which kind of there's like a version of it that comes in during the credits when you beat the game, and it's like it's just like a little bit different. It's got a little more. Oh, it's so good.
I love it.
So good.
It's so boppy.
Yeah, the music is really great. Yeah, it's like it takes like what they did with those old like Nintendo 64 soundtracks, but they have those kind of those MIDI like honks and whatever, and it just like it really kind of takes that vibe, that like bouncy peppy vibe, but like modernizes it and makes it its own thing. It doesn't sound like a lot of 3D platformers and just big kind of epic AAA experiences have like really, I mean, they have nice scores and stuff, but they're just kind of unmemorable. They're not the type of song. Even Mario Galaxy, as much as I love that game, I don't get those songs stuck in my head.
No,
these I do.
I agree. It's like Galaxy has a fantastic soundtrack, but it's not necessarily something that's going to be stuck in my head as easily as a lot of the tracks are from something like this. Even though New Super Lucky's Tale does have some Mario 64 or, the 64 era platformer influences, I think more than other games like New Super Lucky's Tale, I think it has its own thing going. Like it is its own excellent game, excellent 3D platformer in its own right.
All the burrowing underground and like it's just such a nice balance of platforming and puzzle solving and bullet hell dodging and like it's just in the boss battles and the puzzle levels and the side scroller levels. Like there's just such the variety. It just like anything you do, you don't know what that level is going to be. You don't know what the next surprise around the corner is going to be, and I love that.
And it's so vibrant.
Me through.
There's so many little things to find. It's so colorful. It's so cheerful, but it's like challenging too, but not too hard. Like I think they just nailed so many elements of that game. I'm really impressed.
Yeah, the difficulty curve is like damn near perfect. Yeah, as much as I felt like I was like it was tough. I was definitely hitting parts that were tripping me up, but like I was also like, I never got pulled out of like, I'm going to play something else. I'm going to play some comfort food. I was like, this is my comfort food. And that very rarely happens when you're playing something for the first time. So.
Totally agreed. So now I want to play it myself. So we'll probably get to that point too.
Heck yeah, dude. I'm so glad that you guys fired that back up too. That's one of the things I love most about this podcast is like somebody talking about something. I'm like, I either need to play that still and I never have, or I got to go back and try that out.
Same.
Checking out if this is available on PS4 so I can get in on this. I think it is.
I think it just came out on PS4 actually. I saw they were like tweeting about it recently. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It's on PC as well, and I think on PC it runs in like some crazy like I don't know, like 240k or it's not 240k, but it's something above 4K I think, or maybe it's just 4K, but it just it wouldn't make sense if it was above 4K, but however it runs
it
on
could,
PC,
but
it looks amazing. Like I saw like a little clip and I was like, holy shit. I mean, it looks good on Xbox too, but I was just like, man, this looks just gorgeous.
I don't know if it's I don't know if it's enhanced on Xbox One X, but it sure looks like it because it looks great. Pretty.
Yeah, I don't feel like I had played that many good 3D platformers in like the past year or so. But when I like played Ukulele like about a month ago, like I think that it got me back craving that a little bit. So I would be.
What did you think of you? What did you think of Ukulele on the whole? You're talking about the original one, right?
Yeah. I mean, I saw that reviews were pretty mixed about it. It's so hard for me to like be objective on that game because I was such a huge like Banjo-Kazooie person back in the day.
Sure. Like, I remember you even I remember you pestering me to play that on my 360 back when we lived together. You're just like, just play Banjo or specifically Tooie because I had never played it.
Yeah. So like, I mean, booting that up, I think it nailed the charm that Banjo-Kazooie had back then. So like, and I think, those games weren't really that difficult. And I think I'm starting to appreciate how much the charm played into my enjoyment of the game.
Sure.
But I mean, from what I've seen with Super Lucky's Tale and like the demo we played, like I see elements of that, and I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be a more challenging game than Ukulele was. So, I mean, I'm always down for that. Did you end up 100%ing Super Lucky's Tale? Not quite 100% yet. I probably have to go back and get like a dozen or so like stars or clover pages or whatever.
Right.
But they're all like, again, I think I mentioned this when we talked about it, but like I love how each level has like 4 distinct clover pages that you can get for the same 4 things, and you just kind of know what you're doing. You're not like just kind of randomly exploring like, where do I go? What do I do? It's just like, even in the huge kind of sprawling 3D levels, some of them even have like a map that you can look at if they're like a top down, like almost maze type level. There's some really cool stuff. Just so much variety in the level design, and all the characters have like a ton of personality, even the NPCs and stuff, which you don't get a lot of in 3D platformers. So
it's really good, and I can confirm it is Xbox One X enhanced, which is why it looks even more pretty, and it does run in 4K. It's like, nice, really impressive to look at, I think.
You sure it's not a 240K like I was saying before?
2160, that is 4K, baby.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell I was talking about.
2160, that's the resolution.
Oh, okay, yeah, maybe. Okay, that makes more sense. I was like, where was I going with 240K? But I guess moving on from there, and another game that you and I have been playing, Randall, on Game Pass lately, which just came out, although probably about a month ago when this episode comes out. But I expected, this we just saw that it was out on Game Pass, and we were like, hey, let's try to play a little bit of this just so we can talk about it a little bit on the podcast. And I have gotten the Gold Cup on normal mode on every Grand Prix and on hard mode on every Grand Prix, and I'm starting to chip away at the expert ones. I got a bronze on the first Grand Prix, but I cannot put this game down. Like right before we recorded today, I recorded the new 15 minutes of game video for it. And it's just like, it's a traditional kind of low poly outrun style, arcade racer. Yep. And I just think it nails every single aspect. And you probably have more experience on the arcade, like retro end of these games, Randall. Yeah. But like, I don't know, the sense of speed, the style, all the different characters. It's like, it's got just enough like goofiness and campiness and like, I don't know. I'm just really loving it so far. What are you thinking so far? And we can kind of go back and forth on this one.
Oh, yeah. I haven't played quite as much as you have. But yeah, I also played it through Game Pass. And I'm so glad that it was available through there because, yeah, I'm also having a blast. I think they nailed the feel of like those racing games from the early 90s. This keeps happening now with these like indie or smaller devs where they're releasing these games that are inspired by these games from the 90s, but they're now like better modern versions of those games that like replace those old experiences to me. And that's not saying, that's a big thing to say. Like that's impressive to me, that you can not only recapture the spirit, but make something like better out of that same product. Like it is like Virtua Racing or Daytona, but like it almost feels better than those games, if not just as good to me.
Some of these newer games kind of like negate the need to go back to the retro stuff. And at least for us, at least for me, I don't want to speak for you, but it sounded like that's what you were kind of saying. So.
Yeah, no, I'm really enjoying Hotshot Racing. I've been playing as Keiko, I think her name is. Okay. Primarily.
I tried her a couple times, but it's all about Toshiro for me.
Which car do you go with?
I go with the speed car. So yeah, every character has 4 different cars. There's like a balance car, a drifting car, a speed car, and I think an acceleration. Yeah. Like there's all 4 of those stats, but then there's like kind of one car that focuses on each. And then you get like currency from winning races and stuff that you can just buy new like pallets, and it seems strictly cosmetic, all the stuff. You can just kind of upgrade your car or your character's outfit and stuff. Yeah. But like I love like every character kind of has like a little cutscene after you win a Grand Prix. Yeah. Like Toshiro's like, I don't need to talk to these humans. I'll give them something to talk about. And he's like, his eyes like light up glowing yellow. And it's like, wait, is this guy like an android or something? Like what's going on? But it's like, again, it's just so like goofy and campy. Yeah. And one of the cool mechanics of this game, so like you essentially, you're driving, it's pretty normal. There's no like, it's not a combat racer or anything like that, but it kind of feels like, well, like it has that thrill I get from like Mario Kart, but no bullshit from like the blue shells. There's like no BS other than you sometimes like you can get clipped by another car and easily like it's it's that style of game where you got to hit the checkpoint in a certain amount of time, and like it's pretty, especially on expert, like if you get clipped and you get even partially turned around or done, run into a wall, it's like you're probably not going to make that checkpoint. Although I would say I make it most of the time. But I really love the mechanic of how you build up your nitro boost by drifting. Like you basically have this this like meter that's segmented into 4 different parts, and you just each like little pip on that meter, once it fills up, you can use a speed burst, and you can get that by drifting, or you can get it by like slipstreaming behind other cars, and
which
it starts
feels
building
good,
up.
Really too. It feels great
so
to me.
Good.
Yeah.
But then when you're in first, like you can feel them kind of coming up behind you, and you're like, oh man, I got to kind of watch those markers of like where they're coming behind me because I don't want them to slipstream on my car. And build up their boost. But I just feel like, I don't know, I just always feel engaged, and like sometimes I come in first, sometimes I come in 8th. It's usually out of 8 racers. And I just really am loving everything about this game. I can't stop. I mean, I do tend to play games when I'm just like putting a podcast on or kind of doing something in the background, and this racing games are kind of perfect for that for me. So, and like we were saying, just the sense of speed, like when you use the speed burst and the screen kind of blurs a little bit, and like right where when you get the speed burst off the starting line, which I also love how that works. Like you kind of have a meter.
How does that work? I'm not good at the starting line boost.
There's a tip that comes up at one point, like, you know how you just get the tips while it's loading of like what you should do, you know, this is how you drift, this is how you brake. So one of the tips will kind of give you like it'll tell you got to keep the like your revs or your like speedometer in the yellow segment. So there's like a big green bar and then the yellow, and then if you're like fully revved up, like if you just hold down the accelerator until the start goes or until the gun goes to start the race, it kind of like you'll stall out just like you would in Mario Kart. But if you keep it in that little yellow segment, you'll get a speed boost off the line, and it is one of the tips that they just kind of give you while you're playing.
Yeah, because I just wouldn't touch the gas until they said go, but then everyone was just blowing past me, so I'm like, well, that's not it either.
I did the same exact thing at first because I was like, is it just a timing thing, or is it, you know, how does this work? But I will say too, I just booted this game up and started playing it. I didn't look at the controls. I didn't look at anything. And I mean, I had to learn a few things through the tips, but like it was pretty straightforward. It was like right trigger is go, left trigger is gas, steer the car.
Yeah, right.
Change the camera view a little bit.
Drift, right?
Yeah, it's like a brake / drift because it will get you into reverse if you're like fully stopped.
Right.
But yeah, I just really am loving this game, and I'm excited to kind of unlock more stuff. And I was playing a little bit online with people and getting fucking smoked for like, I texted you guys in the Discord thread. I was just going to say, I texted you guys in the Discord thread, like, hey, I'm playing online. I'm coming in second almost every race. And like from that point on, I came in like 7th or 8th in every race I did after that. So it obviously just depends on who you get matched up with. But
sure.
For just being something sitting on my Xbox, thanks to Game Pass, I'm loving this game. I'm definitely going to play a bunch more of it.
I think the other factor why I really, really like this, even in comparison to the titles that it was, you know, from initially, at least spiritually, is that this game runs so damn smoothly too.
So smooth. It's beautiful.
It's locked at 60 frames. It's like everything's super like HD and clean and crisp, and like there's no ambiguity, there's no pop in. It's just like you don't have to think about any of that stuff. It's just like balls to the wall, and it just runs so smooth, and that's like exactly what you need from a racer like this. Feels so good.
Yeah, and they do a great job of, like, even my first time through tracks, like, such a great job of, like, indicating the turns and, like, what's coming up. Like, you don't feel like, oh, I got to memorize this track before I can stand a chance. I mean, it certainly helps once you get the hang of it. But, again, I haven't gotten to this in the main game, but with the online play, there was, like, mirror tracks and stuff like that. It seemed like there was another even altogether different game mode called Cops and Robbers. So I don't know what that was all about, but seemed like more of a team-based thing. So that could be a lot of fun, too. I only played like the regular races in the Grand Prix, but man, the mechanics they're just spot on. Yeah. They're perfect.
They nailed it.
Yeah, absolutely love it. So DJ Randall and I have been kind of stealing the spotlight here, and I know you have unfortunately my PS Plus subscription just expired, but I had a couple days to squeak in some Invisible Ink, and I think I'm going to need you to maybe talk me into why I would need to purchase this game in the future.
Are you kidding me?
Because I'm not going to say that I didn't like it. There's just so much going on, and I know we're going to talk about another game in a little bit too that I kind of talked you into playing that kind of has a lot going on too. And I think it's just so I think that this is going to be an interesting conversation here. But yeah, I know you have played. I know you mentioned when you were kind of rattling off all the games you've been playing, you played some Invisible Ink and got all the way through it. And I know you kind of booted it up again to refresh your memory. So what is kind of your main draw to this game?
So this past time was my third time playing it.
Nice.
First time, like I just did it like on beginner mode, and like I think it stuck in my head somehow that like I need to return to this because I didn't truly beat it. I mean, it's just beginner's
You didn't
mode.
Beat the story mode, yeah.
So like whenever I would like go back through my PS Plus games to see like what I need to play, it's just like I think I need to go back to Invisible, and I finally did when like the pandemic started, and I was doing it on expert mode, and holy shit, like it was such a tough experience. Like I think I went about like 2 weeks before I was able to beat it, and that's playing. I I hunker down when I play one of these games. Like,
well, and it's like a procedurally generated roguelike kind of like stealth.
It's a
strategy,
stealth
more
tactics game. Yeah,
but it's like the rounds are long. It's not like a down well or enter the gungeon like an hour or 25 minutes or whatever. It's like a longer campaign kind of.
Yeah, I'd say each of the missions can take like about an hour or so, depending on what the difficulty's set at. Just because there's so much there's so many different ways you can like approach different scenarios. Like, oh, this one guard saw one of my agents. Like, do I use someone else to take him out? Do I try to slip away with my agent? Do I try to distract him with like something else? Like, there's so many like different ways to approach things, and
that's cool.
Like, and every decision is like so critical because like at least on the expert mode, like you only get you can only rewind one of your turns per mission. And during your turn,
is that a full turn or just like one player's move?
A full turn.
Okay.
But yeah,
I haven't used any of my rewinds or anything. I'm always like stingy about like, I want to do it my way.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to be because like
an expert. It sounds like you have to. Yeah,
dude. Yeah, you only get one. I don't know if there's any restarts. Do you have restarts on your difficulty level?
I think on beginner it has 3 restarts or something, and then on regular mode or on normal it has 1 maybe. Oof. And then only 1 retry or rewind on expert. And then there's even an expert plus mode. I will say last night I played a little on normal, but this is another one of those games that does a great job of like beginner. It like has a very clear text box that says like if you're new to the game, start here and it'll gradually introduce you to all the mechanics.
That's
like,
nice.
If you're a veteran of this game, start with normal, and like, hey, if you're a tactics, if you want to get if you want to get smoked, try an expert mode. But I like when they just kind of give you those very clear, like, kind of describe the mode to you instead of just normal, hard, easy.
Well, along those lines, like I agree that there are a lot of mechanics to the game, like, your agents have like their own unique abilities and they all have like their own like inventory. You've got unique objectives for each mission. You've got to like, you have to do the objective and find the escape. You've got to like use your hacking system to,
your incognita, which is like a whole different, like you open that up and it like opens up the map in a whole different view that you're like hacking into stuff. And like, that was kind of the confusing part to me, although I think I figured it out where you just have to like be in sight of the things, like the things you need to hack, or you at least have to have seen them before.
Yes.
Maybe you don't even have to have a line of sight to them, but like you have to like, if you're going to open a door, like it's really specific, you got to run through a doorway, close the door, or open the door, then close it behind you, or open the door, peek in, and like, oh shit, I don't want to go in there yet, and close it, but you might have alerted a guard by opening that door.
Jeez.
But I do really love, like, one of the things I really like is how you're able to kind of split up your action points. You don't have to like make a move and finish it. You can like move here, open the door, peek. As long as you have enough action points, you can kind of keep using that character. And then on top of that, I really loved when you like, if you move one of your characters into the line of sight of like not so much a camera, but into the line of sight of a guard, your character will stop in its tracks, like on that tile, as soon as you're seen, and it won't continue the rest of your move. And then you can move one tile with that character once you've been spotted to either like get out of sight or take the guard out if you have a weapon, or you have some options. But I really thought that was cool how it was turn-based, but it's still like it had this like fluidity to the action of like it still had a little bit of a feel of an action game, even though you could play it at whatever pace you want.
For sure.
Nice.
And like, man, what I love is how much like you don't, like, I rarely kill guards at all during the game. Like, it's all about like just knocking them out. And
when it's stealth, you got to go non-lethal.
Oh yeah.
But they get up, like they don't stay out the rest of the mission. Like they get up in a couple turns, so you got to like
3 turns at least on normal. Yeah,
and then they'll start like changing their patterns because now they're searching for you. Like the best feeling is when you're like, you've maxed out like the number of rounds, because like every 5 turns, like some additional security measure gets added to the complex, like additional security cameras, additional guards, etc. And
it's usually like as soon as you arrive, they're like, hey, the intelligence has been alerted of your presence. And like every turn beyond that, it just keeps getting more and more difficult.
Jeez.
And by the end, like there will be guards that spawn that like know the location of one of your agents. So they're like already on their way to you. So it's like, dude, when you've maxed out the amount of security measures and like the whole place is looking for your dude and you just are able to like slip him out, that's just like such the best feeling. Like I get so jacked on that with this game.
That makes sense.
I have 2 quick questions. So the missions that I've played have all had 2 agents. Do you ever get more than that, or is it always just 2 per mission?
You do.
I know there's more characters overall, but like, do you ever control more than 2?
There are certain missions that are rescue missions, and those will provide you with an additional agent.
Once you rescue them or whatever?
Yeah, so you have to like break them in or break them out, and like you have to take them to the elevator with you.
That sounds cool.
And what if one character dies? Like, are you able to complete the mission by getting just one character to escape, or do you have to get everybody to the escape elevator?
Well, I guess technically you don't even have to complete the mission. Like, if you find the exit, you can do that if you want. It's just like if you don't do the missions, like you're not going to be able to beef up your agents enough to be able to take on like the final mandatory mission.
Makes sense.
Like, okay.
You're allowed to, like, if you're like, I'm just gonna fucking die if I do this, like you can bail. But if one of your agents falls, like I mean, you can revive them, or you could carry them to the exit. But if one of your agents dies and you don't do that, and like the rest of your party is able to escape, then in a future rescue mission, you can get your agent back.
Oh, that's really cool, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. Gives it like a little bit, because I know, like, even though we mentioned that it's like a procedurally generated roguelike, it is kind of structured like a campaign, you know. It really does have like these cutscenes, and maybe not a ton, but like at the very opening, there's kind of this big cutscene. Kind of reminds me of Archer a little bit. You know, you got this like spy agency, and like definitely like the head of the spy agency really reminds me of Jessica Walter's character. I don't remember her name in the show. But yeah, it just kind of got that vibe, although not like the humor aspect of it, but just that kind of like really like slender kind of, I don't know, that like low poly style, because it's like 3D, but it's kind of 2D. But I will say they do a great job of like parsing out the information for the most part, even though there's a lot going on. Like you have a few different camera modes that you can like click in one of the joysticks. And again, after a little bit of getting used to it, controls pretty well on a controller. It's definitely clearly made for like mouse and keyboard controls, I think, but like it works pretty well with the controller. It took a little getting used to and memorizing what buttons do what, but once you get in the groove, it wasn't too bad. Yeah,
I think this game does like a great job of displaying all the information you need, like especially just like, you know, if you know, see the guard's line of sight, you can hover over each individual tile and see like what'll happen if you were to move there.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. There are a lot of mechanics, but I think it does a good enough job of like walking you through everything. So
yeah, I think so too, but I think you have to be willing to not have that like stubborn mentality of like, I'm just going to put it on expert from the go. Like I think you do kind of have to play that like beginner, at least a little bit, like to just get a feel. I played like 1 or 2 missions on beginner. I died or something. I can't remember what happened, but I was just like, I think I'm ready for normal now, even if I don't have every little detail hammered out. Like, I want a little bit more of a challenge. And I completed a couple of missions, and my PS Plus expired, and then I didn't really, bother unlocking a bunch of stuff. But it's a game that's been on my radar for a while. There's a couple of other podcasts I listen to where the people that I typically agree with like love this game. So
add me to that.
I definitely want to give it another try. Yeah.
Nice.
And it just came out on Switch too, not too long ago. So
that seems like a good fit.
Definitely, yeah. Maybe with the touchscreen controls,
that would be cool.
That might even help a little bit.
Right.
So
I am curious about that. Like, I will find that, like, if I'm deep into a mission, like, there is maybe a little bit of load time on my PlayStation. So I wonder how the Switch will be able to handle that. But
yeah,
I didn't notice that too much. But again, I didn't get super far into the game, and I might have said this already, but I do really like how like your move counter or your action points will, like, whatever tile you're kind of selecting, it'll drop down as you're picking where you're going to move, or like, hey, I want to move here. I have 8 action points and it's going to cost me 5 to get there. And it'll show, like, even before you move, it'll show like a 3 on your little, like, arrow. So, like, once I move here, I have 3 action points left. So yeah, it just does a really great job of letting you know, even like after I do this, what am I going to be able to do?
Nice.
So yeah,
please keep playing it.
Oh, I'm gonna have to buy it if I do. So no, I think I could pony up, spend a little money. But one game that I kind of talked you into playing, DJ, that we didn't have to spend any extra money on, although we both got it through the itch.io bundle for racial justice and equality. But I was totally unaware of SuperTry Studios previous to this itch.io bundle. And the game that they included with the bundle was a game called Haque, Haque. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's just my best guess. But this is like another totally different. It doesn't have that stealth aspect like Invisible Ink, but it's a top-down, dungeon crawling, roguelike, randomly generated. Once I started playing it, even before we talked about it all, and we haven't talked much, DJ, but I booted it up and I was like, I don't even know why I was comparing this to Invisible Ink, other than it was just another turn-based, grid-based, tile-based. I guess I just kind of thought, like, I played Haque and I love that game, and I haven't had a chance to talk about it on the podcast yet, so I might have just been grasping.
That's fair. I mean, it is a more strategic game than I was anticipating it being. Like,
because it initially looks very arcade retro, just like kind of straightforward.
Yeah, well, and also like the way like you move around, it seemed so similar to me to like Crypt of the Necrodancer that like I just had that parallel going the entire time.
That game actually, I didn't even get really into Crypt of the Necrodancer, but I think that game gave me such, because this is another one of those games where you're using like the D-pad to attack by, like, if an enemy is a tile above you, you're pressing up on the D-pad to attack them. Or sometimes you can pick different attacks and different spells or whatever depending on your character. But, like, you just have, like, forgot what I was going to say again.
Are you using a controller for Haque?
I am, yeah.
Oh, shit.
So you can play this game with the mouse and keyboard. Hold on, actually. Where were we at, though? What was I just saying?
You're talking about, like, how you, when you, like, move in a direction, like, that's how you attack also.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So, yeah, playing something like Crypt of the Necrodancer, where, like, you are kind of, like, it made sense to me in that game where you're using the D-pad up, down, left, and right, and, like, because you're just, for me at least, I was so focused on the rhythm of the music, and like I have to be in time with that.
Yep.
So like it didn't make sense. I almost got tripped up when I had to like hit a button to drop a bomb or hit a button to do something else. I was like, no, I just want to only touch this D-pad.
Yep.
And I think with this game having that background but not being tied to any kind of rhythm or anything like that, it is turn-based in the sense that, like, just like Crypt of the Necrodancer is, I think there's even a character you can pick that will play the game like outside of the rhythm, and it'll just move when you move. And that's kind of how this game works. But there's like tons of like information on the side that kind of tells like all the things that have happened on the right side, and then on the left side you have all your menus and stuff. But yeah, I initially, DJ, was playing this with mouse and keyboard, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before on the podcast. Like, it's a little bit tough for me to just like get comfortable and get into. I just haven't played a lot of PC games, but this game actually has really great controller support. Like, I really like all the ways. Again, got to kind of familiarize yourself and learn, like, this is the button for the map, this is the inventory, this is, how I get into my items, this is how I change my items. There's a lot of shit going on, and it is like this really minimalist, like almost like Commodore 64 style pixel art.
Okay.
Like more retro than NES for sure.
Okay.
And it's like I don't know. It can just be kind of hard to even tell what stuff is when you're looking at the items. Like I was looking at these leather sandals and they just look like 2 brown lightning bolts. And I was like, what the fuck are these? Or burlap sandals, but like
a little too minimalist, maybe.
Yeah, in some ways, but again, it does get to the point where, but there's so much stuff. Like I was gonna say, you get to the point where you start learning some of it, and you do. But I'm still getting stuff like hours and hours into this game, even though I haven't gotten much past the first boss. Like I just still feel like I'm seeing all kinds of new stuff I haven't seen yet.
Yeah, nice. I was feeling, I don't know if I should say overwhelmed, but like it wasn't sinking in, but now I feel like it's starting to kind of get there. Like I made it a little past the first boss as well, and I'm like starting to understand how like the different menus work, and like the fucking old guy was like, "Oh, don't forget to check your map. You never told me about a map." And it's like under this icon that I guess kind of looks like an M, but not really. So I was just
it's a little bit odd. Yeah. It's a little bit odd for sure.
But like,
I will say that old man, by the way, like he is, at least to me, is fucking hilarious. Like I think this game has an unbelievable sense of humor. Like it just, whenever it is going for the joke, it hits it every time.
Oh,
for
nice.
Me. I mean, it's small and short and sweet, but like at least for me, a DJ, you kind of giving me a look a little bit. But I found the old man to be very charming and very funny.
I find that it's like the same joke basically the entire time, like kind of like there's always a little sinister aspect to what he's saying, but he's like this old like guy that like doesn't appear sinister or whatever.
Yeah, he kind of like walks you through the tutorial, and then like for what it's worth, like I've probably put like 5 or 6 hours in, and I would say like once every like 2 or 3 runs, he'll just randomly pop in and like make some comment about what I'm doing, and it's just just like, I don't know, it always cracks me up almost every time. And then another thing I love, so like each run that you start, you get to pick from one of 3 characters that also has like a familiar, so you have like a cat or a turtle or a scorpion or some kind of like little animal buddy to help you out. But then your character might be a human burglar, or it might be a werewolf burglar, or it might be like a mushroom poisonous toadstool, or it might, like, your character can vary up so much. And then of those 3 characters you can pick, you can only pick one, but you can also lock the other characters for future. Like every time you start up a new run, it'll randomly generate 3 characters for you.
Yeah.
But you can, if you're like, hey, I want to play as this character, but this character looks cool too. I like the items that it has to start off. I like the familiar, I just like everything about this character. You can lock it so that next time it'll only bring up 2 random characters and that same character you had that you wanted. You can even lock all 3 of them if you want.
That's cool.
There's like on like the menu, there's like a little just kind of like lock icon that you can click on.
I didn't see
or press like the square button or circle button. I forget which button it is, but there's like a specific button that will let you kind of lock that character for a future run, which is really cool.
Yeah,
there's a lot of variety there too. Like every character has like just like the stats just get like out of control, like to the point where you're not fully paying attention. But I think even like after every dungeon or every floor you clear, you're getting a new buff for your characters, and like it's stuff like very specific, like get increased accuracy for your offhand weapon. So you have like an offhand weapon and your like regular hand weapon, and like there's just so many little details on all the things. And like when you get to shops, you don't actually shop, you have to trade with the shopkeeper, like trade items for
little
other
bartering.
Items, I can't fully figure out how that works.
Well, there's
same thing with like
there's a meter on the side that'll show like the percentage chance that the shopkeeper will accept your offer.
His interest.
Oh, that's right. Which they never accept mine. Maybe I'm trying to rip them off.
Yeah, you're lowballing them.
Yeah, I forgot that they kind of show that like meter, and even like when you're planning an attack, if it's like a ranged attack or even a close melee attack, it'll show you like a percentage like on this counter meter on the left hand side.
Nice.
And just I just really love the aesthetics of this game. Again, it's got that just super retro, like, again, sometimes a little bit of a hindrance in terms of like the pixels don't always tell you exactly what a thing is until you get used to what they all look like. But it's hard to tell if like, is this like a burlap vest, or is this it's just hard to tell what things are. And you do get to like rooms where it's like an anvil, like crafting room that you can pick two of your items and kind of fuse them together.
Yes.
To create something new. But sometimes it'll be something shittier than both of the things you made before.
I kind of
sometimes
love that.
So I think you have to kind of learn like, okay, these maybe you have to pair similar items together. Maybe I haven't figured it out yet, but there's got to be some reason to utilize this crafting mechanic.
Risk reward, baby.
Mechanic.
There's so many little things that will remind me of things I like in other games, like that. The anvil thing reminds me of Cave Blazer, when you've got like the altar and you're upgrading a weapon, and then like the choosing three people at the beginning. That's like making me think of Rogue Legacy, and it's little cool, like,
or even like Into the Breach, where you can pick like one of many like crews, but it's still like you're picking like your play style almost from the get go.
Yeah,
and they're very varied. Like when I just played my last run I played before we recorded today. I did a stream, even though it came out super shitty. Like I think my internet connection was just not keeping up. But like I played as this toadstool like fungi character that had like these like spore attacks that would like cover every adjacent tile to me, and like some of your weapons, if you have like a spear, you can attack on a diagonal angle. Again, it's all like grid based, tile based, but like it's just got such great like they're really simple animations. You know, when you kill a character, when you shoot a character with a crossbow, like the blood that splatters, like it's so like, or even like the spore cloud that comes from your mushroom character, like it's so minimalist and simple, but like the way that they animate it, like it just I feel like the world just feels alive to me, and I don't know what it is. I really love it's a specific choice, but like the soundtrack, like when you're on the title screen. We'll get your thoughts in a sec.
Yeah.
Well, on the title screen, it's got this really great like chip tune, like bouncy, and when you're on the character select screen. But then when you start the first level, it's like this like acoustic, like folksy Americana guitar that's like really like kind of random. Not random. It's definitely like a little riff or something, but it's just like this like it just sounds like somebody just like jamming on their guitar a little bit, and I kind of love it just because it's so different.
I knew you'd love it.
Well, it's so different, and it's so outside of what you would expect for what the game's aesthetics are, that it for me it just comes together in like a way that's just like, this is so cool and different.
Yeah, it is.
You don't feel the same.
Well, I mean, it is a cool change of pace. Even that style reminds me a lot of referencing another game, Flame in the Floods soundtrack.
Yeah.
But like,
I can see that.
It's a cool riff. I don't know if I feel like it fits with.
I sort of see that. Like, I think I like the juxtaposition of it. The fact that it doesn't fit. Like, I think that's what I'm kind of gravitating towards. But I know what you mean. Like, it definitely, especially when that very first, like, kind of just chiptune tune comes in the title screen, it's just like, oh yeah, that fits perfect. Yeah. And then when it goes into the game, it does feel almost a little jarring, a little bit.
But I guess also,
but for me, in a good way.
We haven't made it far enough to know like how the soundtrack like evolves the farther you go.
Yeah,
we're scrubbing it up, but I'm gonna beat this.
Oh man, it's a race. It's a race because I have obviously not even gotten close.
I'm going back to Enter the Gungeon days.
Oh boy.
Seriously, man. I've been looking for that next roguelike that's going to hook me in like that. I mean, I think this one's totally different, but like, I don't know. I really am just totally sucked in by the charm and the simplicity and the just like every run feels kind of different to me, even though it's so minimalistic. But yeah, I really, really dig it.
Yeah. And I'm definitely appreciating more of like the strategy that is involved with this. I think I do want to try this with a controller though. I think that'll really boost my enjoyment of it. It's like
it speeds up the process a lot. Are you playing with like a mouse? Because I know you can use the mouse to even like move your character. Like, are you using the keyboard to move, or
no?
Are you clicking on the screen to move?
Yeah.
I noticed that, and it actually doesn't work that terribly. But yeah, I'm all about the controller, but I forget which button it is, but let me know if you have any issues. But there's one button that I know it shows like either square or L1 on the PS2 controller or PS3 controller or PS4 controller. Jesus. But it's gonna be PS5 controller in a second.
There you go.
But I feel like it says the wrong thing. Like it says hit square to open this menu, and it's actually like L1 or something. But you can remap the controls too. But it feels really intuitive again once you get used to it, just like Invisible Ink. But I don't know, it just has that immediacy of like moving tile by tile. Like once you've cleared kind of a group of enemies, you can just kind of like, you're tapping up and down or left and right on the D-pad or whatever, but like you can just kind of zip through until like, okay, I've triggered an enemy, and they almost like get alerted like Metal Gear Solid style. Like you can hear them kind of like go like, doodle-doo. Like, oh, I saw you, and now this enemy has been triggered. Like they're going to start kind of coming after me. And you get like 2 potions per floor. There's just like a really good, like, I don't know. They just do a really good job of balancing the difficulty. Like I die on the first fucking floor sometimes still. So it's no joke.
Love it.
But yeah, just another really fun game that I wouldn't have found if it weren't for this bundle for Itch.io or this Itch.io bundle for racial justice and equality. So
nice.
Really, this is the first I've tapped into that actually. So thank you for giving me that nudge. Like I
know you finally got that computer all hooked up.
Yeah, and I'd been like getting new parts, and then I was like worrying, like, man, like I don't even use the computer that much. Is this all a waste? And it's like, no, I got this bundle. Like, I mean, these aren't super like demanding games, but like
some of them
I still feel justified like investing in my computer.
Right.
To do this, so.
Instant library.
Oh yeah.
I felt the same way with when I got that bundle, especially being that I am playing with like, if I'm playing computer games, it's on a laptop.
Right.
So like, hey, I'm going to get 1,700 games that probably the vast majority of them are going to run just fine on my laptop. Right. So, they're not asking for too much. So yeah, I just really can't recommend this one enough, and I'm really excited. I know SuperTry has like a Patreon page. I think they put out a game every month, if I'm not mistaken, and that's kind of just like their MO of like, make a game every month. Sometimes they enter a game jam, sometimes they just put out a game, but like at least for this year, I know they were like, we're putting out 12 games this year.
Wow.
And they just came out with another new, yeah, seriously.
Jeez.
And they're just like really like core concepts that are expanded upon but not beaten into the ground from what I've seen. So yeah, really, really cool.
Nice.
And I know real quick before we wrap things up tonight, Randall, I know we kind of started off the episode with a couple of Game Pass games, and we're always kind of raving about, hey, we're playing this thanks to Game Pass or this or that. Like there's just so many new games that we're constantly playing, and I've been dipping in to a ton of them.
Yeah.
And I talked about Indivisible last week, and I kind of just wanted to like feel you out, see like what game you're maybe the most interested in.
Yeah.
To see which one I should keep plugging away at. And a few of the ones that I just wanted to mention, like I really have been loving the Gardens Between. It's kind of like a time-based puzzle game. You're not actually even in direct control of the characters. You're just in control of the flow of time.
Okay.
Which is really interesting. I really have been enjoying that. They're kind of like these little mini dioramas almost. It's a really, really cool game. Obviously, like I said, I talked about Indivisible on the podcast. We talked about Hotshot Racing earlier. We talked about New Super Lucky's Tale. But I'm also really loving Hyperdot, which is more of like an arcade, like, kind of simple, like kind of similar to like Flat Heroes, or like more just like it's arcade, you're dodging stuff.
Okay.
Different mechanics each level, kind of time-based, like wave-based stuff.
Okay.
I also started up Crosscode, which just came out on consoles not too long ago, and Xbox Game Pass right away.
Yep.
And that's like a top-down sci-fi RPG kind of thing, which I'm really digging. The combat is super cool. It's just a really unique game so far. I just kind of got through the opening segment of it. But I'm also really digging Tohu Luna Nights.
Oh, yes.
Which is like a Metroidvania with also some time traveling mechanics, or at least time freezing mechanics, that I've been really, really enjoying. And I think, between like those, are there any that kind of stand out to you as like, man, this is one I've been wanting to check out, or this is one I have enough time to check out? And this isn't like necessarily we're going to talk about it next week or anything, but just like next time we kind of get a chance to sync up on a game, Randall and I have been kind of trying to sync up on some of this Game Pass stuff.
I'm legit tempted by most of those just right off the bat.
They're all great. I will just stand by all of these. That's kind of why I was like, what does Randall think? Because like I can't pick between which one of these games I want to really dedicate myself to. Although I've been playing a little bit more Indivisible and still just loving the shit out of that game.
Oh, yeah. Understandably so.
Yeah, so I don't know. Are any of those in particular kind of jump out to you, or any that you've been wanting to play?
I think for just the variety of experience versus what I've spent a bunch of time on recently and how much time I have in the short foreseeable future, I think the Gardens Between sounds very intriguing to me from everything I've seen and heard. And I think that's one that I'd like to jump into.
Heck yeah, I'm all for it. And I actually just made a 15 minutes of game video for that game.
Nice.
And I think that's one that, kind of like New Super Lucky's Tale we talked about off the top. Like, I think that's another one you and Tina could, like, sit down on the couch. And I think we might have mentioned that before, but, like, it is another one of those games where, like, one person can have the controller, but even if you're not the person in control of the game, you could still be like, hey, try this.
Yeah.
Or, hey, what about this? Like, it's definitely a good couch co-op game, even though it's a single-player game.
Love it. That sounds even better.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, it's so fun. I'm really digging it. The art style is so cool.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't even call it low poly, but it's like kind of like unshaded or something. Like, it's just got a really unique, and it's almost like a completely wordless narrative.
Nice.
Maybe even entirely. Like, it's just all like cutscenes and little, just hinting away at like this brother and sister relationship. So
nice.
Really, really digging it so far, and I'm looking forward to discussing that one with you a little bit further.
Let's go for it.
Yeah, and like I said, we don't have to get into that next week or anything, but just whenever we can sync up on that next. But
heck yeah.
Yeah, but I think we could pretty much wrap up the games talk there this week, guys, yeah?
Yes, sir.
We're done, so.
Nice. Well, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com. Otherwise, we're on YouTube, Discord. Please come and hang on the Discord. We also have Instagram, all that stuff. We got links at the bottom of the episode description, timestamps and all that stuff as well. But I think we'll wrap it up there. And thanks for listening, and take care, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Boy.
I will say, ever since you and John mentioned, when John mentioned that he like takes out the little bags every day, of the garbage, I haven't been doing that, but I put my little fruit fly traps by my garbage can.
Oh yeah,
whole different ball game. I still see a couple here and there, but I've caught quite a few where I wasn't catching any before.
The only reason I got one is because the cider smells good to it.
Yep, I just poured a glass of wine and same deal.
I think I have a mosquito in my place.
That might be worse.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't when I had a fucking wasp.
Whatever.
I'll still never forget when I had that fucking wasp in my bathroom. Like, I got out of the shower and there was just a wasp on my light, like the ceiling light of the bathroom. And I was just like, I'm fucking naked. I just got out of the shower like, holy shit. I'm not allergic or anything.
You probably didn't have it. Yeah, and you probably couldn't see on top of that. Like,
I mean, I could see enough to my glasses help a lot, but I could see enough. But I ran out of the bathroom, closed the door so that it could just, it was attracted to the light, thankfully, so it wasn't really coming for me. But it was just staying on the light, and I grabbed a bunch of paper towel, a huge wad, and I was just like, I got one shot at this. If I miss this thing and piss it off, and I had to, my body's still kind of bothering me, and I had to, I'm wet from the shower, and I had to, climb up on the toilet seat and, one fell swoop, put one foot on that jump up, or half jump kind of, and extend, and I just snagged it, and I got it. And I was just like, oh my God, dude, if I would have missed that, I'm butt naked, just ready to get a fucking stinger.
I wouldn't have the courage for that. I'd just get a bucket of water and just
throw it on the lights.
On the ceiling? I know, yeah.